Sure, he painted the Mona Lisa, but did he even go to school? Did anyone even know who he really was? Was he ever in love? And the real question, why did he start everything and finish nothing? Let's unravel the most gifted overthinker in history. Leonardo da Vinci, the overachiever who ghosted his own genius. Leonardo da Vinci was born in 1452, illegitimate, which in Renaissance terms basically meant, congratulations, you're brilliant, but society still thinks you're a glitch in the simulation. His dad, Sir Piero, was a successful notary, aka a guy who wrote boring things for rich people. His mom, a peasant girl named Caterina. The love story, non-existent. Their romance was so short-lived it makes Tinder dates look like ancient love epics. After his mom was benched from the parenting game, baby Leo was tossed into the emotionally complex arms of his dad and four rotating stepmothers. Yes, four. Ser Piero changed wives like passwords, often and without telling anyone. Little Leonardo grew up in Vinci, a town in Italy so small it makes the Roman Empire look like a crowded rave. As a kid, he was introverted, painfully curious, and always found near something he wasn't supposed to touch. One minute he's sketching flowers, the next minute he's dissecting a bird. Red flag? Maybe. Genius? Absolutely. He wasn't allowed into formal school because illegitimate kids couldn't learn Latin or Greek, which was a huge deal back then. So while rich boys were conjugating verbs and learning how to lie in politics, Leo was teaching himself how to draw corpses and invent flying death machines. He taught himself everything, from anatomy to architecture, using pure curiosity, stolen scrolls, and sheer I'll-figure-it-out energy, except how to finish anything. So, did Leonardo have friends? He had a few associates, some apprentices, one or two chaotic besties, and at least one teenage assistant he nicknamed Salai, which loosely translates to little devil, because nothing says workplace bonding like insulting a 10-year-old and then raising him like an emotionally unstable intern. Salai was basically the Renaissance version of that one kid you keep around, even though he keeps stealing your food and possibly your art supplies. Their relationship was complicated. Think mentor meets emotional hostage situation. Salai reportedly stole from Leonardo constantly, but also posed for his art, stayed with him for decades, and likely knew where the bodies were buried, literally and artistically. Leonardo socially was somewhere between a mysterious genius and that kid who eats lunch alone but knows how to build a crossbow out of chicken bones. He was private, intensely focused, and deeply weird in the best and worst ways. He wrote everything in mirror writing, which made his notebooks look like cursed spell books. Was it to protect his genius, or was he just flexing on anyone who dared borrow his notes? We may never know. Some say it was for secrecy, others say dyslexia. I say Leonardo was just the type of guy who'd add encryption to a grocery list. He was vegetarian in the 1400s, not for health, not for vibes, but because he believed animals had souls, which is beautiful until you remember he also dissected them. Yes, Leonardo would rescue a bird, then go home and perform experimental wing surgery on a pigeon corpse. This man was the Disney princess and the villain origin story. He bought caged birds at markets just to release them. It was less random act of kindness, more emotional support rebellion. Can you imagine being a butcher in Renaissance Florence, watching your most expensive parrot get yeeted into the sky by a guy in a cape muttering about flight dynamics? Also, he slept like a chaotic elf. He followed a polyphasic sleep cycle, meaning 15-minute naps every 4 hours. No REM, no dreams, just caffeine, corpse diagrams, and rage. He was obsessed with the human skull, water currents, flying machines, horse muscles, and people blinking too much. This wasn't a man with hobbies. This was a man who needed therapy, and instead invented the helicopter. He also had an unhealthy relationship with water. No, not like drinking it. He would stare at rivers for hours, sketching how they flowed, then write about their moods like they were his toxic ex. He even tried designing a way to divert the Arno River, which would have taken out half of Florence if anyone had actually listened to him. Thankfully, they didn't, because apparently flood the city wasn't a sexy enough pitch. And if water wasn't confusing enough, he invented scuba gear in the 1400s. That's right, leather tubes, airtight suits, and everything you need to drown slightly slower. His plan? Military underwater sabotage. His vibe? Michelangelo's artistic cousin meets underwater Batman. Also, Da Vinci was terrified of aging. He wrote about how disgusting old age was and obsessed over anatomy because, deep down, he was probably just fighting a midlife crisis with dissection tools. He believed the human body was a divine machine, which makes sense because he spent literal years drawing cross-sections of intestines like they were Renaissance blueprints. He once drew a fetus in utero, next to a cow's uterus, in the same diagram. Was he comparing species, or just seeing how weird he could get before the Pope sent someone to burn his sketchbook? And if you're wondering, did he ever chill? No. His version of chilling was painting a perfect flower, and then drawing the same flower 50 more times from every possible angle just to check if nature was lying. This man didn't live. He investigated existence like it owed him money. Oh, and Leonardo? He wrote over 13,000 pages of notes. Diagrams, dissections, inventions, existential crises, probably a few death threats to the concept of time. And guess what? Not one damn book. He basically invented the tank, the helicopter, and robot lions, but never thought, hey, maybe I should finish a manuscript? Da Vinci died with a literary legacy that looked less like a book and more like a printer exploded in a haunted monastery. Leonardo's interests were, let's say, extensive. He wasn't into normal hobbies like wine or playing the lute. If things moved, blinked, breathed, or broke, he wanted to study it. He designed a giant crossbow so big it needed a football field, a self-driving cart with gears that basically screamed Tesla but wooden, a robot knight that could sit, stand, and possibly do your taxes, and an early scuba suit made of leather because sure, let's drown historically. But what inspired him most was movement. How a bird flaps, how water curves, how the heart pumps blood. This man was ready to divorce reality and marry physics. He dissected human corpses, with permission, we think, just to understand how we're wired. And not one or two, over 30. One time he just sat there watching how water curled around rocks for hours, like a divorced dad who lost custody of the river. And flight? He was obsessed. He didn't just observe birds, he reverse engineered them. He designed winged gliders, helicopters, parachutes, all without electricity, funding, or any concern for gravity's feelings. And while he cared deeply about understanding the world, romance wasn't exactly on his list. Leonardo never married. He had no known relationships with women. Historians have scratched their heads for centuries and finally settled on the official academic term. Probably gay. At age 24, he was accused of sodomy with a group of young men. The charges were dropped due to lack of evidence, but the rumor stuck harder than wet paint. His closest emotional bond? Salai. That friend who never left and probably knew too much. Whether they were lovers, artistic soulmates, or just a very weird boss-intern dynamic, no one really knows. But one thing's clear, Leonardo wasn't here for candlelit dinners. He was here to sketch horse muscles until sunrise. His love language, sketching your skeleton with extreme, unnecessary accuracy. When it came to sketching and painting, Leonardo wasn't just passionate, he was possessed. His idea of a good time? Drawing the human skull from 5 angles just to study the way stress hits the forehead. Mona Lisa, probably the most stared-at woman in human history. He worked on that painting for over 15 years, 4 years to paint and rest for perfection. Carried it everywhere and never officially delivered it. Who was she? Maybe Lisa Gherardini, maybe a royal commission, maybe himself in drag, but that smile, that slight haunting smirk, he claimed it was inspired by mathematics, anatomy, and her inner soul. Then there's The Last Supper, painted directly onto dry plaster using a method he made up himself. Spoiler, it didn't go great. But the detail? Unreal. And fun fact, Leonardo rarely signed his paintings. He believed the work should speak for itself. And also maybe he was just too busy trying to perfect the veins in a wrist. Oh, and he invented sfumato, a painting technique so subtle it makes shadows feel like they're breathing. Because of course he did. So why did Leonardo da Vinci, genius, inventor, artist, lizard-level perfectionist, never finish anything? His brain was Wi-Fi with 200 open tabs and no password. He'd start dissecting a heart, get distracted by bird wings, sketch a tank, draft a flying machine, then forget to eat for 3 days. He wasn't lazy. He was just mentally time-traveling in 6 directions at once. He didn't chase applause. He chased understanding, which is a great way to become brilliant and deeply, irreversibly overwhelmed. And besides, how do you finish something when you're busy trying to decode the secrets of life, death, gravity, and why water spirals weirdly in bowls? He gave the world genius, mystery, and way too many unfinished projects. Basically the original group assignment guy with god-tier talent. Imagine what he could have done if he ever hit submit. He didn't just live in the Renaissance, he was the Renaissance. A man who drew the future, studied the past, and somehow forgot to sleep in between. In the end, Leonardo didn't just leave behind paintings. He left puzzles, questions, and blueprints for a future he never lived to see. And that's kind of beautiful. He may be gone, but somewhere out there, one of his projects is still loading. Peace out.